ladies and gentlemen. My name is Seth Christenfeld. I'm the York's literary manager, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's installment of our newly named new work series, screaming new work series titled "In the Pipeline." Now, why are we calling it "In the Pipeline"? I don't know. Jim Morgan came up with that. Like so many things around here, we just do what Jim Morgan tells us. But I like to think that it's us flipping the bird to that water main pipe that burst back in January at 53rd in Lexington and destroyed our space.
Uh,
Um, so maybe that's why we're doing it, calling it that. I don't know, but it is about shows we have in our pipeline, or we would like to have in our pipeline. And tonight, I'm co-hosting this with the man to my right or left, depending on how you're looking at things. Our newly minted associate artistic director, Mr. Gerry McIntyre. Gerry, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Seth. Allah, how are you? Listen,
I'm I'm awake.
you're,
Best I
you're
can hope for some days.
that's
I'm
the
coming
sweet.
to you live from. Sorry.
Did you go outside today in this lovely weather? Did you?
I opened a window. I have not gone outside.
Oh my God, it was
Most days I
so.
don't go outside. I have been cooped up in my parents' house for most of the past year. I'm coming to you live from said parents' house in Westchester. Gerry, I believe you're coming to us live from somewhere very different.
Yes. So Seth, that I'm not very computer savvy. So I was trying to get online at my apartment, and my Wi-Fi went down. So I went to the best place I could find, a bar. And my friends own McHale's on 51st Street. So look, it's already getting ready for St. Patrick's Day. The flags are up. So I'm at upstairs at McHale's, which I think is the title of my new series.
Yes, upstairs at McHale's, the Gerry.
Upstairs at McHale's, I have my tequila and we talk. We just have a little chit chat.
I've got water.
I think that's vodka, Seth. Is that vodka?
It's not vodka, it's water. It's from a 19-year-old 40th anniversary Mets cup that I believe is my dad's.
Oh my God. I love it.
Great. So tonight we're going to introduce you, the viewer, to two terrific shows we have become acquainted with in various fashions. And the first of those shows tonight is called 15 Minutes More, ...
Yes.
I love a title with punctuation. So we'd like to bring up to talk a bit about it the show's authors, book writer, lyricist, co-conceiver Joe Langworth, and composer, co-conceiver Steve Marzullo.
Hey guys.
Hey,
how are you?
Hi, Steve.
How are you guys?
Good. Seth, I love that you included the ... And Gerry, I love that you are broadcasting from a bar.
This is a spin-off of In the Pipeline. It's called Upstairs at McHale's.
Anything perfectly really explains our two personalities. It's my mentioning of the punctuation and Gerry coming from a bar.
Yeah.
We are truly
from tonight.
We are truly the odd couple, which is fantastic.
It works. It totally works.
Let me open with that. I've known Steve Marzullo since the beginning of time, I think. We did a show called Once on This Island together, and we were together in the dressing room for 9 months. 9 months?
We're roomies.
We were roommates, so we had a Once on This Island baby together, I guess you'd say. And we lived through that, and Steve was the musical director, and we had the best time. And I've heard your music for so many years, and it's been so good to revisit it. It's so good. It's fantastic, you guys. And then Joe, I know, but listening to you guys' stuff, it really made me happy. And
thank you.
Really happy. So how did you guys meet? How did the two of you meet?
We met doing the Ragtime Workshop in Toronto. Yeah. And it was odd because Steve and I kind of just clicked really quickly. We were talking about that earlier today. Yeah. And turns out we found out that we grew up in bordering hometowns in kind of the suburbs of New York City. And that, but we never knew each other. We knew mutual people, but we never met as kids. We were like 1 degree away.
Right.
And, yeah.
It's crazy.
Fantastic.
What do you got? What do you remember?
I just don't remember how we got onto that subject, how we got connected, and just found out. Though it's making me well. It was 24 years ago, so and it was freezing. It was freezing up there in April. I remember it was snowing in Toronto in April. I was like, "That's it. I'm moving to LA." So, but I can't really. I don't remember like how it all came about. But we literally did because Joe was on the border of New York, and I was on the border of Connecticut, and there was the two towns that just met there, and we had mutual friends, but we never knew each other as kids. So
and you just one day said during the rehearsal, like, you know what, I want to write a musical. You want to write a musical? Like, how did that?
Yeah, well, Gerry, to follow you up, you said you've known Steve's music for years, as I have, and I've always been a fan of Steve's music, and I kind of stepped away from performing maybe like about 15 or more years ago. And I first went into casting, then I started directing and choreographing. And Steve and I always kept in touch, right, Steve?
Yeah.
And, but you know, with good friendships, sometimes a year or two will go by and it doesn't feel like that much. And that's what happened with us. And when we reconnected, I had been writing, doing scripts for cabarets and doing some dramaturgy work on new pieces. And Steve was writing, and we just said, hey, let's do something. Right. And when we first put our heads together, we looked at what we had in common. And clearly that was the region within which we grew up, our Italian-American heritage, which is filled with humor if you look for it. Catholic upbringings, more humor if you're looking for it. And but then too, the fact that we are gay men of a certain age that have survived a really interesting and fluctuating time in our own personal gay history. Yeah. And we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to tell that story from not only span it, but tell it from the other side, after closeted upbringings, to escaping to big cities, to AIDS, to don't ask, don't tell, to gay marriage, to the inclusivity of LGBTQ plus. And like the fact that we've seen that and in our lifetime it's a huge kind of trajectory. Right. And we just thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about that from our point of view.
When did you start writing it? What year was that? Do you remember what year it was?
I'm not sure, but I know that we stopped and started, and we'd leave several months go by before we approached it again. We did find our first draft, which was quite a bit different than what it ended up being, but still the essence was the same. But our first draft was pretty strong, we found, because we had done a reading of it. And then we did another reading after we worked on it again. And so it's just been a process of, I can't really say how many years in total we worked on it, because we put it away for a while and thought about it, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, I first got it drafted. I think our good mutual friend Jim Kierstead sent me a draft of it about a little over 4 years ago.
Okay. And Dana Aber connected you and I, Seth.
Yes, the great Dana Aber, who is a fabulous performer, who all of you should know.
And writer.
You should.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then just a little over a year ago, maybe a year ago, Joe, you and I had lunch and we talked about the show and talked about some stuff, and then we worked on a new draft. And
you gave us some really great ideas, and everything happened. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, so great, great.
So tell us a bit about the material we're going to see tonight. We're going to watch we're going to see about 15 minutes, 20 minutes of material. 15 minutes more. So give us sort of the précis of the show and introduce what the material we're going to see tonight.
Well, Steve, I'll let you riff on the other characters, but this is largely Frankie's story, who's our primary imperfect protagonist, we like to call him. And but when we started writing, Steve and I, in looking back, found ourselves reminiscing about our friendships, especially during the time when we were coming up and coming out, of the people that accepted us, that we didn't have to hide who we were, and when we were around them. And a lot of times, and even to people we spoke to, those people for gay men were sometimes women, heterosexual women who just accepted us. And we thought that was an interesting relationship to explore. So we explore that in the piece. So Frankie and his best friend, Margaret, kind of become this go through life as best friends. But when they look at their relationship as they're adults, they're like, wait a minute, you're my person. And what does that mean? And we explore that throughout the piece, and we decided to focus on that relationship tonight. But Steve, why don't you talk about the other characters?
Well, also there's Frankie's insane Italian family, which is hilarious, and they have neighbors that live upstairs, Patty and Eduardo, who are living in sin, who kind of do a number for Frankie called 77 from A to Z, which is chronicling everything that's going on in 1977 in New York City, from Son of Sam to the Blackout to CBGBs to Studio 54 to the whole scene. And I was going to say, and then there's also a crazy, scary nun named Sister Agatha, who's the first to shame Frankie for his sexual awakening. But I also want to say that this show, like Joe said, we're only just showing the relationship between Frankie and Margaret, but it's really a love letter to New York City during the 70s and 80s and 90s. It really, we give you the locales that are not even there anymore, you know? And so it's also about Frankie's relationship with his parents, with the neighbors, but it's all that. It's just so hard. That's what we decided to pick, was the Frankie Margaret section, you know.
And the beautiful thing, I have to say, Steve, to pay you a compliment that's due, is the beautiful thing Steve did was, as the piece travels through decades, we go through 3-4 decades, the musical landscape changes with the time. And you'll see a bit of that within the 3 songs that we chose tonight.
It's so good, because when I read it, you know, I'm a gay man of a certain age also. and I grew up in Catholic school, 12 years of, you know, nuns and priests. I was an altar boy and a Boy Scout. So all of that stuff that you had to deal with at that time, it was like it resounded in my ear. That's why I was like, oh, this is so good. And we have to I'm going to stop talking and we can show some of it. How about that?
Okay. So this is George Somas as Frankie and Laura Pavles as Margaret. They're 2 of my favorite talents in New York City that Steve knows and I met when I was casting. So they were kind enough to help us with this.
Awesome.
Great. Let's.
A light illuminates an unassumingly handsome middle-aged man. Upstage is a large projection screen, onto which the dwarfing shadow of a priest appears. The priest bestows the sign of the cross, and the man, Frankie Scordato, returns the gesture.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been 32 years since my last confession.
Better late than never.
These are my sins.
It's called confession for a reason.
Right. Well, let me just say this. I've survived forces and people, and I know that life is a gift, but I'm stuck and remorseful and mad at God for letting it all happen.
You're not the first person to be pissed off at the Lord.
But I want to move forward, Father.
Wanting is the first step.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
How do I let go?
You don't. Learn from it. Bask in it. Find peace with the past.
Find peace with the past. Find peace with the past. Find peace with the...
Lights to black. The year is 1971. The adult actor as 5-year-old Frankie skips downstage.
It's a boy!
Oh, congratulations!
Attaboy, what took you so long?
My name's Frankie. I'm 5 years old. I have brown hair and green eyes and one ball. My dad has 2 balls. He says that I have another one. The doctor's just got to go inside and find it.
Frankie, pick up your things. You got 15 minutes, then we gotta go.
You want to see my toys? I got G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. He grabs my sister's Barbie doll and smacks one on her lips. Mom says we gotta go and to put my toys away. But I still got 15 minutes more to play. I got my own backyard and my own big tree. The old lady from next door keeps peeking at me. Mom's inside on the phone still yakking away. So I still got 15 minutes more to play. I ride my swing set high, way above the ground. Feel the air on my face as I scream jumping down. I got my Matchbox cars with the slick chrome wheels. Evel Knievel's motorbike and the cape, that's a deal. I can't play for long. I gotta go to the hospital. They found my other ball and now they gotta go inside and pull it out and put it next to the other one. The hospital's right behind our house, so we don't even need to take the car. I packed my favorite bathrobe. It's velour. The air is warm and the sky is gray. But through the big old nasty clouds, I see a golden ray. Mom's still inside, singing real bad as she puts the dishes away. Yay! I still got 15 minutes more to play. Today is the day when Dad says I must be brave. But don't they understand? 15 minutes is all I crave. I don't want to leave my house. Got my programs coming on. Ricky playing Babalu and Keith Partridge singing a song. Come on, get happy.
Frankie, time to go.
Okay, I'll go and forget my fears. I'll listen to the doctor, and from me you won't see tears. I'll be fine, that I know, 'cause everyone will pray. But I still want 15 minutes more to...
Frankie!
So Frankie survives his surgery and comes out just like all the other boys. Sort of. His flamboyance and burgeoning curiosities continue to grow, despite the constraints of his Catholic faith and his befuddled parents.
After years of bullying and learning to be ashamed of himself, Frankie arrives at a place of new beginnings, acceptance, and mutual respect. Public high school. His dreams of a fresh start are quickly shattered, but everything changes when he becomes the costume designer for the school talent show.
I'm working on the costumes, just like Bob Mackey on the Sonny and Cher show.
And then he meets his very own Cher, the outspoken and irresistible Margaret, a teen who struggles with her weight and masks the accompanying vulnerability with humor.
Don't talk to me about Black versus White Day. That is the stupidest friggin' tradition in this dumbass school. I'm not gonna fight somebody just because of the color of their skin. Anyway, I'm Sicilian. Have you seen me tan?
I love the sound of her voice. When she sings, everything bad goes away.
Now, who can help me with my Spanish homework?
I can.
Well, come on.
Frankie walks Margaret home after rehearsal. As they pass the old stone houses on her street, they argue about the most important thing in any Italian teenager's life.
No! My mother makes the best sauce.
Okay, why?
She fries one meatball with raisins in it, cooks it in the sauce, and that sweetens it just perfect.
That's gross.
It's only gross when you get stuck eating the raisin meatball.
All right, how about my mother makes the best meatballs and your mother makes the best sauce?
Okay.
Enter Walter Bruno, Frankie's tormentor. He immediately starts shoving Frankie.
What's up, faggot? I saw you watching me change in the locker room the other day. You want some of this?
Embarrassed and scared, Frankie cowers.
Leave him alone, Walter. There ain't nobody looking at your little pecker unless they're carrying a supersonic atomic microscope.
Walter stops and turns towards Margaret.
I see you went and got yourself a mouthpiece, Frankie. I didn't know you were into fat chicks. Later, losers.
Humiliated, Margaret starts to leave.
See you at rehearsal.
Bye, Mags.
Mags. I will steal that from you and offer you nothing in return.
It's yours. No charge. And thanks.
The scene changes to Margaret's bedroom, decorated with an 80s slant towards heavy metal. She sits on her bed and starts to play her guitar.
I line my eyes with black, paint on fierce red lips, do the best with what I got to pull focus from my hips. Yes, I'm the chubby girl with the pretty face, the queen of the laugh who can put you in your place. The boys all know my name, I'm where the party starts, and this chick with attitude is a modern work of art. But when the night is through, I wind up home alone, with comfort on a plate and a diet that's been blown. It starts with a taste, then you can't put it down. It starts with a taste, soon you're going to town. Yes, it starts with a taste, and you wish it had never begun. Wanna flee, but you're too full to run. This Italian girl needs to take control. Finally free the skinny chick who's been locked inside my soul. I'm the next Joan Jett, a rocker to the bone. But the fact of life is I look like Mindy Cohn. It's because of the taste. Why can't I stop with the taste? I really want one more taste. Start with veal parmesan, next the bun cake is gone. Eat the pasta fagioli with a side of egg roll. Where's my diet coke? I think I'm gonna croak. Hello God, are you there? It's me, Margaret here. Help me change, throw a bone. Can you answer the phone? Ease my pain, take the shame. I'm over this game. My genetics are tired of taking the blame. No more tastes. No more tastes. No more tastes. No more.
Okay, we're going to make a big jump here, so let me catch you up. Frankie gets a scholarship to Hunter College in New York City. He flees the confines of his hometown for the endless possibilities of the Big Apple, taking with him the one thing worth holding on to, Margaret. Frankie heeds his father's demands to study something reasonable, like English. And after submitting a scathing review of the college dining services to his school newspaper, Frankie unexpectedly lands a job as a local food critic. The job not only provides him a steady paycheck, but a sparkly distraction for his food-centric family, who still hope that Frankie and Margaret will get married and provide them with purebred Italian grandbabies. Meanwhile, Margaret explores her inner diva as she entertains the masses, starved for show tunes as a singing waitress at Rose's Turn. The friends dive deeply into the music, nightlife, and decadence of the 1990s as their codependence deepens. However, Frankie finds himself haunted, literally, by the recurring voices of his past and the inner homophobia hardened during his formative years. He treats sexual encounters with emotional abandon, meeting his needs and then fleeing with shame and regret. It isn't until he meets the sexy, intelligent, and caring Louise that Frankie opens his heart, a space that only Margaret has shared. Confusion and tension ensue as the boundaries of friendship are questioned, loyalty is challenged, and patience wears thin. And then reality is forever changed by the onslaught of AIDS. Frankie faces fear, uncertainty, and loss as he draws inward and binges on his worst impulses. But the one person who has never left his side will not give up on him so easily.
Fade in on the year 1996. Lights reveal Margaret wearing a caftan and holding a beach bag.
There was this guy who was a regular at Rose's. We used to call him Ginger because he had red hair like Tina Louise from Gilligan's Island. Whenever I brought him a drink, he'd say, "Girl, who is fiercer than you?" At least I was distracting someone from what was going on outside the door. I haven't seen him in months. I hate living in a time when not seeing someone makes you wonder if they're still alive.
Frankie steps into the light and wraps his arms around Margaret from behind. They are now 30 years old. The image crossfades to a serene sand beach. They unfold a blanket, sit, and marvel at the Fire Island sunset.
That's incredible.
Beautiful. Almost makes me trust life again.
Hey, you've got a lot to be thankful for.
Margaret grabs a bottle of champagne from the bag, pops the cork, and fills 2 plastic cups.
To Luis.
Luis. He was smart.
Sexy.
Stalwart.
Ooh, salacious.
Steady. Supportive. Sound.
Okay, this isn't helping. Throw one bad thing in there. Something that really pissed you off.
It's funny, all the things that annoyed me about him seem so petty now.
To Luis, for being perfect just the way he was. You talked to his mother?
The chief martyr? Of course not.
That's harsh.
Like she deserves more just because she gave birth to him? She wouldn't even step foot into the hospital. Didn't respond to one phone call until he was gone. Until it was safe enough for her to come in and create whatever narrative around his death she could feel comfortable with.
Is there going to be a service? We should just go. Don't they have those bereavement flights?
They're going to keep it small. Just family. Family.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
Am I?
Sorry.
Frankie!
Luis was the only thing that ever threatened coming between us.
Hold up. That is not fair!
Isn't it? He always knew that at the end of the day, I'd choose you. I've always chosen you, Margaret.
And that's bad?
No, but I have to live with the fact that I wasn't capable of giving him what he deserved.
Frankie, you were there.
Yeah, stepped up at the last minute with a smile and a juicer to try and heal something that could never be healed.
I am sorry, Frankie. I'm sorry you're hurt. I'm sorry for what happened to Louise, and I'm sorry I couldn't figure out how to help you when you needed me the most. Frankie, accept it. You are lucky.
Lucky. Sure, I've been spared. Anybody got a reason why? Because now I feel a responsibility to do something. Prove that I deserve to still be here.
Frankie, what if we did it for real this time?
Do what?
Have a baby? My eyes, my smile, your metabolism. You're searching for something. Maybe this is it.
To give my mother purebred Italian grandbabies?
To create your own family.
You're serious?
I just verbally vomited it out, so I think I am.
It's a nice thought. Really, it is. I just don't think I'm ready to make that decision today.
Of course. I'm not talking like now. I'm just saying someday. And We'd have to figure out how, because I don't.
Yeah, of course.
Go there, man. So maybe.
Maybe.
Oh my God.
What?
See the pink and blue come together and blend into a color they can call their own. While the clouds roll in, the sun lies down to sleep alone.
I want each day filled with moments like this one. No stormy skies and no wind to knock you down. And the sea is calm and people swim and no one drowns.
That'd be nice. So what comes next?
We move forward together.
Then what comes next?
Who can tell? We'll survive, and while facing each day, we'll look for the sun through the gray. I'm thankful for my life's movie that stars you. You give me calm, give me every reason to keep on dreaming what could be. So let's get up and move forward together.
Don't be afraid. You've got me.
The sun sets. Lights fade to black.
Woo! Wow. I had a moment, man. Wow.
Thank you guys so much for letting us share the work. We really appreciate it. And thank you for doing this series right now in a time where everybody needs a vehicle to be creative. So it's a great thing you're doing. Thank you.
Oh my God! You know the thing about it, you know, when you're a man of a certain age, you get to live through a lot of pandemics, as it turns out.
Yeah, it's interesting. We wrote this as survivors of a plague, you know, and you go through an existential period afterwards and kind of have survivor's guilt and start questioning things. And it was interesting. We wrote this before COVID, and now we're in the age of COVID, where a whole new generation is having to face these same existential thoughts, this same questions that you have as a survivor. So we hope that this piece, which addresses a lot of that complication, we hope the piece can resonate with a whole new generation in that way.
Fantastic.
So good.
I hope that once everything goes back to normal, we get to be part of helping the show along its journey.
We would love that.
Totally. And Steve Flaherty just text me and give me thumbs up. So because I told him to text him. So he liked it too.
Oh, good. Well, I also want to say there's actually a lot of funny stuff in the show. So
right.
A lot of funny stuff, actually.
Is that voice? Is that Mother Mary Testa?
How did you guess? In our last reading, we also had Felicia Finley playing the nun, doing an 80s dance break in the limelight. So there's a lot of fun stuff to explore.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. It makes me so happy just to see the two of your faces.
Oh, you too, Gerry.
Oh my God. And soon we could actually touch.
Yes.
We look forward to it. All right.
Love you, Gerry.
I love you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
So before we move on to the second half of the evening, I just want to urge you in the audience to think about, if you can, giving some money to the York. We do subsist on donations these days, since we're not really bringing in too much in the way of ticket sales. What with very little in the way of shows to sell and no space to sell them in. Um, so please flood us with money, drown us in donations,
Yes.
and spray us with a hose of cash. I don't know. But you can always text. You can always text York to 44321 to donate, or you can click the link that will be in the chat momentarily when I put it there. It's that link, but that shouldn't be up here.
You had so much control, Seth. I love it.
Yeah, well, I'm a control freak. What can I say? You know me. So
Let's do the next one.
Yes, let's move on to part two.
Part two.
The second show of this evening is a show called Mary Marie, and if you're a stalwart Yorkie, you may recall it from what we did a reading of it about a little under 2 years ago. It's a show that I first became acquainted with when it was at the NAMT festival in 2015, and sort of kept tabs on it for a while. Then got to know its authors, who you will meet momentarily, Chana Wise and Carl Johnson, and we pulled the piece in for a reading about a little under 2 years ago, May of 2019, and then I think it went pretty well. We had a great cast, including someone you're also about to meet momentarily. And then a little over a year ago, about a month before everything fell apart, we did a table reading of the new draft with a terrific cast. And the piece it's a show I would love to continue to shepherd. So let's bring on our other guests, composer Carl Johnson,
Hi, guys.
lyricist Greta Hannah Wise,
Hi.
and our special guest, performer Caitlin Cohn, who, again, Stalwart Yorkies may recall from our Mufti presentation of Alan J. Lerner and John Barry's Lolita, My Love, in which she played the title role. She played the love.
So good to be here.
Great to have you.
Where are you guys? Tell me where you guys all are.
Well, I'm in Santa Barbara County in California.
Okay.
I'm in Long Beach, California.
Yeah, and I'm currently in Newport Beach, California.
Oh, I want to be in California. Can I come visit? Fantastic. Oh my God. So good that you guys are here. So let's start at the very beginning, I think. How did this all start with the two of you?
Well, Carl and I met at what was called ANMT, now called NMI in Los Angeles, New Musicals Inc. We were in the core curriculum there, which is, I guess, sort of like the West Coast version of the Lehman Angle workshop. We started working there together, and Mary Marie was the second show we wrote together. I won't go into the first show. But as a result of the first show, which was a sort of a catastrophe because we needed rights to be able to continue with it, and we lost those rights. We were looking for something that was in the public domain to adapt, that we wouldn't have to deal with that. And my kids at the time were in high school, and they happened to be or at least my son was in the same high school as Caitlin. And I went to see the musical at the high school. It was Sage Hill High School in Newport Beach. And at the time, I was looking for something, and then I saw Caitlin, and her performance was so amazing to me and spoke to me so much. And I said, if I ever find something for a young girl, I'm going to keep her in mind. She has to be there with me. And like very shortly thereafter, I found Mary Marie, and it was sort of like, whoa. So that's how that started.
And for those who don't know, Mary Marie is based on a novel by Eleanor Porter, who is probably better known for having written Pollyanna. But
yes.
Mary Marie was I believe, her final novel.
It was her final book, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the show itself. I obviously we all know what it's about, but the audience might not.
Okay.
So please tell the audience about the show.
Well, I'll jump in a little bit. The book is based on the main title, Mary Marie, whose parents are going through a divorce, and so she's. We find out she's called Mary by one parent and Marie by the other, and she sort of feels torn between the two. And the show is about her recording her experiences in a diary and kind of shuttling back and forth between where the two parents lives. It's a chance to watch how all three characters, the mother, the father, and Mary Marie, grow as a result of this, the relationships with each other and the separation of the parents. And when the book was written in 1920, this was a very scandalous thing. But the thing that really it attracts me about the show is just so many relationships, the parent-daughter relationship, the parent-parent relationship, and how they all grow and how they all communicate with each other. And for me, I constantly found myself comparing it with my relationship to my daughters and to my wife. And I think it's the kind of show that I think we've said anybody who has a daughter or a mother can relate to the show, that it's all about those sort of evolving relationships.
Right, and the other thing about it is that not only is she called two different names by her parents, but she's actually sort of expected to behave differently with each of them. With her father's very strict, and he's a teacher, he's a scientist, and he really can't relate to children or girls so much. He really relates to academia more. And so she's expected to behave very seriously, very studiously. And her mother is sort of the opposite. She's very free and wants Mary Marie to have all the freedom that she doesn't have when she's with her father. So that's sort of a good intro. As the play opens, she's packing and writing in her book, which she considers to be the precursor to a novel. And I guess we'll play the first clip now. This is Caitlin now singing the opening song.
Isn't it superb? Isn't it exciting? Isn't it an excellent chance for depicting romance in my writing? Observing every looming affair, to actually be there while each parent is courting. Won't it be enlightening, seeing their consorting? Mother might be carefree and bold, father very tightly controlled, captivating tales to be told. Divorce. People say, oh, what a shame, or it's always the children who have to suffer, but I'm not going to suffer at all. Why should I be sad? Why should I be grieving? Knowing that with mother I'm free to be me as for me, how relieving. But then again with father, oh dear, I'll have to have a whole year being married. That's another story. That's a little all you want to do is be Marie. It's so hard to be Mary. But for now, I don't have to be, because I'm going to start a whole new chapter. Coming, Mother, because we're going to Boston. So, isn't it unique? Isn't it outrageous? Truly, I believe these events really are, in a sense, advantageous. The other girls will wish they were me. I'll actually be envied, you see, that's my theory. Ordinary parents, wouldn't they be dreary? But of course with parents like mine, tension and adventure combine, waiting at the end of the line. Divorce.
Oh my God, Kayla, how do you feel to revisit a role that you did a while ago? How's that feel?
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's sort of like a time capsule. It is a wild experience, but it's really been such a gift to sort of grow up alongside this character. I mean, that sort of very rarely happens, and it's been interesting to see how, as I've gotten older, I sort of relate to different parts of her. You know, when I was young, it was that feeling of everything being very big and exciting and unknown, and the insecurity that comes along with that. And then as I got a little bit older, it was her curiosity about the world, and now it's really sort of that I relate most to, you know, her journey of stepping into her roots, of taking ownership of her story, and in that process really finding her strength and her voice.
That's glorious.
Right, and we'll be able to, I have a little clip that we've included that you'll see Caitlin, which she's a little bit younger, doing some of this.
Okay.
But so continuing with the story, so she ends up going to Boston with her mother, staying with her Aunt Hattie and her mother there. And her main goal is she really just wants to see how her mother operates. She really wants her mother to start, you know, being courted by gentlemen, and she can, you know, write it in her novel, and that's very exciting to her. But her mother really isn't interested in that right now. She's just barely holding on after the divorce, and she's mostly interested in making sure that Marie is free to be who she wants to be. Then she ends up, after 6 months of staying with mother, going back to father's, and presumably to start going back to her old school. And she's greeted by her Aunt Jane there, who is her father's sister, who's very stern and very unloving and very unwelcoming. And it starts off not very good. And father's very distant, Jane is very mean. And then she goes to school, and her classmates are not treating her the way they used to. And she's perplexed about all of this. And it turns out, she finds out that there had been rumors swirling about her mother at the school, and that's why her friends really don't want to have anything to do with her anymore. Rumors that her mother had been running around with other men during the time before the divorce. And she refuses to go back to school. Her father, her Aunt Jane is livid and says, you have to go back to school. But her father relents and says it's okay, she doesn't have to go back to school, and he agrees to teach her at home. And I should say that throughout the whole show, there are flashbacks. Mother's having flashbacks, father's having flashbacks of the beginnings of their marriage and when it was nice, and at the middle of their marriage when there was some contentiousness, and towards the end of the show, the end of their marriage when it was pretty nasty. So so that happens. And then am I missing anything, Carl?
No, you're good.
She ends up going back to Boston for Christmas, and she has a great time there. And finally, mother has a gentleman courter, whatever. And she has several, but the one that Mary Marie's most interested in is the violinist. And Mother seems to be very fond of him too. But before she can write down any of the romance, she has to go back to Father's. And again, the same thing happens. And it's very unpleasant. Father's very distant. He's trying, but clearly it's not working out. And Jane is as mean as ever. And she's pretty much had it up to here and just wants to be Marie like she is with Mother. And then that's when this second song starts. And Jane has told her that everyone's going to be gone for the day. And she's alone, and she can amuse herself after she's finished doing her chores and doing her homework. And that's when the second song starts.
Yes, and Jane. No, and Jane. No, and Jane. No, and Jane. No! Amuse myself. Huh! What a jolly time that will be. I have nothing amusing at all to write about in my book. Of course, if it wasn't a real story, I could make up things. Interesting things, like having Mother elope with the violinist and Father shoot him and fall in love with Mother all over again, or else with somebody else and shoot that one's lover. But this is a real story, so you can only write what really happens, and nothing happens. So this book is ridiculous and stupid, for my life is monotonous and dull. In this ugly dress and these clumpy shoes, in this freezing place, doing nothing amusing at all. And you'll pay if you happen to run down the hall. Nothing happens. I can't bear one more minute of being merry. I can't stand one more day of being bored. No, I shall not sew, and I can't crochet. I refuse to dust. No, I just want a day to be free. What a properly glorious day as Marie. And then I thought, no one would be home all day. So I ran to the chest where I'd hidden my Marie clothes, and I just threw Mary into the corner and got all dressed up as Marie and pretended I was in Boston with Mother. Having tea and cakes and honey, and she's laughing as I twirl a pirouette through the room. And it's airy and it's sunny and as welcoming and warm as it could get. Not a tune where nothing happens. And then I saw it, the wax cross and the awful hair wreath, and I knew that I couldn't be awesome, and I knew I no longer was free. There was no sun, just an icy draft, and there were no things, and no more as I don't want to be married. I don't want to be married. I don't want to be. Oh, Father, I didn't realize you were coming home so early. And Jane said that. Something happened.
Yeah. Right.
So what happens is Father comes home, surprises her. She's a wreck, and she finally blurts out all the things that have been bothering her. And he finally starts to understand what's been happening with her. And they have a bonding moment over a picture that she spots of his. That's of a double star called Alberio, one of the stars that he's studying. And it's sort of a metaphor because the double star is made up of two stars, a cold one and a hot one, a warmer one, a blue one and a yellow one, and how they form one entity. And so they sort of bond over this. And then Aunt Jane comes home, sees them too, starts yelling at Mary Marie, and basically says, you have to stop, distracting your father. And if you keep letting her do this, I'm going to take off. And Father says, okay, take off, basically. And so Jane's gone. So that's a great thing. And in her place comes Cousin Grace. who's much nicer. We don't really know who Cousin Grace is, but she's much nicer. And Mary Marie gets along with her very well. But Father can still tell that she misses Mother and suggests that she go home for a visit for Mother earlier than expected. At first, Mary Marie is very grateful. But then she overhears him talking to Grace and mistakenly thinks that he wants her to go because he's sick of her. And that isn't true, but that's what she hears. So she leaves and she's very confused. And then she gets home and everyone discovers in the household that the violinist is now making place for the maid. And so Mother is disconcerted. Mother is starting to think about Father again. Father's thinking about Mother again. Mary Marie doesn't know what to do. And then they get a letter from Father, and he is extending another olive branch. And that's when this clip from the Nantes Festival comes in.
Dear Margaret, it occurred to me I ought to write a letter in the view of the events we've all been through. The fact is that I'm wondering if it might not be much better to let Mary stay the school year there with you. She could come here for the summer and return there in the fall, and her troubles of the winter won't affect her then at all. It's perfect here in summer, and somehow I recall a journey to a waterfall, a ramble through the wood, when anything is possible and everything is good. The picnics at the riverbed, enchanting and secluded. It's lovely in the summer. She will love it, just like you did.
Do you see that, Marie? Your father is willing to give you up for almost 3 months of his 6 so that you can stay in school here the entire year.
Yes, Mother.
It's very kind. You must write to him right away to thank him. Why, I might just write to him and thank him myself. Dear Charles, I thank you so for bringing up the question, and truthfully, I cannot disagree. The fact is, I'm so grateful for your generous suggestion that Marie should stay the school year here with me. She could go there for the summer and return here in the fall, and her troubles of the winter won't affect her then at all. It's perfect there in summer, and also I recall a journey to a waterfall, a ramble through the woods,
Yes.
I
Maybe
was saying
Parish.
chat a minute ago. Not to throw any shade on any of the other fabulous songs we've heard tonight from either show, but I love that song in particular.
It's glorious.
So
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And if you want to know what happens to Mary Marie's mother and her father, you'll have to see the show sometime because I hope we can do it at some point.
That's right. Can I just show? Do we have time to show a little bit of clip of Caitlin?
I was leading it. I was about to
It was a volley.
let you go.
Yeah.
Where we let us go so we can eat dinner because it's 9 o'clock on this coast. We have these two short clips from earlier readings of the show that you sent us.
Yes.
With Caitlin when she was a little closer to the age of the character she was playing. Time does pass.
Yes. And in the other actors, the other LA actors, just so that I can mention them, are Peter Welkin, Kendra Munger, Elise Dewsbury, and Ted Zetto.
And when you do, you discover it isn't one star, it's actually two perfect
contrasting companions,
one
yellow, one blue, like you and Marie.
or mother and you. And suddenly, I think I understood why Father loved his stars so much. They are beautiful. And maybe it did seem like he loved them more than he loved Mother and me. But it wasn't true. I just don't think he knew quite how to say.
One purple and sapphire,
One yellowy gold,
one fainter and muted,
one flashy and bold, one cooler and subtle,
one easy to find,
one glows in the forefront,
one shines from behind. They're totally different, but somehow or other they fill out the picture.
balance each other. And somehow it didn't matter whether I was Mary or Marie, because Father and Mother said I could be either one or both or someone else entirely if I liked. Alberio. What a wonderful name.
Yes. It's so good. And you know what, you guys, too, the fact that those two other actors play all those other characters in the play is so good. I wish you would cast me in that mail, please, because I'm available.
It's a fun role.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
They'll keep you in
Yeah.
mind. Well, thank you so. We're gonna. Well, I think that one video will be good enough for now.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
We're
Yeah.
running a little long. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Such an honor. Thank you.
Hope to see you all again soon. Hopefully in the real world after everything goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, just good to see your faces and to hear your voices again, all of you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Nice to meet you, Gerry. Thank you, Caitlin. Love you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you all.
Thank
So great.
Bye.
Bye. Seth, don't we have to thank a lot of people?
Yes. Let's see. We should thank all of the people who joined us tonight. So we should thank
Absolutely.
Marzullo, Joe Langworth, Chana Wise, Carl Johnson, and Caitlin Cohn. We should thank the people who recorded material for tonight, George Somas and Laura Pavlis for Joe and Steve, as well as those additional performers who for Chana and Carl, Emerson Steele, Kevin Early, excuse me,
Kevin
Nathan
Early.
Harris,
Yeah.
Kendra Munger, Peter Welkin, in Elise Dewsbury, and Ted Zetto, I think was the last name.
Good for you.
really need to thank Fiona Sweeney, who has
Oh my-
been behind the scenes making all this stuff happen.
She saved my life tonight. She saved my life, Fiona Sweeney. Saved my life.
She does that on the regular. Gerry, I'd like to thank you.
Oh my God, it's Seth. It's so good to be with you. We've known each other for a million years, and we just usually sit in the green room and eat and talk about people. But this is good also.
Yes, it is.
And we need to thank Joan and Sorkin and Dorothy, right?
Thanking our fabulous board president Joan Sorkin and the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, both of whom made significant gifts to make this series possible.
Yes, indeed.
Thank Jim Morgan for making us do it.
And yeah, always thank Jim Morgan.
Yes, always thank Jim Morgan. He'll get annoyed if we don't. We love you, Jim. Yes. So yeah, keep an eye out for the next one of these things. Aw, thanks, Jim. Keep an eye out for the next one of these things, whenever that may be.
Yeah.
Probably next month sometime.
Next month, yes, exactly.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for all the other fabulous streaming content coming to you directly from the York's YouTube page and Facebook page, which is probably where you're watching this right now. If you are, please subscribe to our YouTube account, follow us on Facebook, throw us a like, throw us a thumbs up, throw us some cash.
Some cash would be delicious.
Cash is a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Beyond that, I'm gonna log off now because I am very hungry. And
okay. So listen, now that I'm in the bar, I can go eat. I don't have to really go far to eat and drink.
You don't have to go very. I mean, I don't have to go very far either. I just have to go downstairs. Yeah. Well, Gerry, good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. You take care.
And see y'all soon.
Bye.